Hey everyone, this is Isaiah coming here to you live from my bedroom. It is 2:28 in the morning, and I had finished watching Us not too long ago, actually, and I must say that I'm just massively impressed with how the film turned out. I have to say, Jordan Peele is by far just a brilliant horror director. For him to be able to create two magnificent horror films back to back is something that is considered to be, at least for me personally, a rare feat. Um, a lot of directors, whether they're directors, writers, excuse me, artists of any kind, some of them have often found themselves to be the unfortunate sufferer of the sophomore jinx. And I have to say, Us does not follow that formula. Us is one of the greatest horror films of 2019. Anyone who is familiar with Jordan Peele knows about his work with the Key and Peele show, which contains a lot of hilarious skits that is very relevant to the time period that we're living in. And anyone who also knows about his cinematic work knows that he directed Get Out, which is another magnificent horror film. I have to say, Us is one of the most intense, disturbing, unsettling, and unpredictable films of this year. And when I say that, it's one of those type of films where everything follows symmetrically perfectly. You don't know what's going to happen to a degree. And a lot of it relies on intense suspense. And that seems to be what's missing in a lot of films today, is that when it comes to horror in particular, every director these days wants to rely on the jump scares. You know, every horror film has to have a jump scare now, and it seems to be through every course of every scene. And one of what I appreciate about Jordan Peele is how he is able to utilize the whole creation of the horror, the suspense, and how there's no jump scares. I mean, Get Out and Us, no jump scares whatsoever. And what is amazing about his talent is how you feel as if there's a jump scare about to happen and he's building up to it, but it never happens. And it still leaves you with such an unsettling feeling. Us has a very interesting and unique premise. Its synopsis is very... I want to say this, though. There is a kind of a political allegory and important message in the film that's sprinkled through every scene pretty much. And there's one scene in particular where the message is loud and clear, but it's not necessarily beating you over the head with it. It's not shoving it down your throat. It's not trying to lecture you. But it is an important message, and that message, at least what I got out of it, is how us in particular, when we look at ourselves and then we try to find or pass judgment on somebody else's lifestyle or their thought process, we have to look at ourselves, because sometimes we could be our own worst enemies. And we have a lot of ugliness and atrocities that are within us, but however, we are able to control it a lot better than others. At the same time, we could be capable of committing such horrible acts. So we're no better than the next person. And that was the message I got out of it in particular. With that said, the performances in Us is top notch. Lupita Nyong'o, I'm sure I mispronounced her last name, but she is one of the most talented actresses of this generation. If she does not win an Academy Award or is nominated for her performance in Us, there is literally something wrong. There is no way that this performance should go ignored. How her voice and her movements as a doppelganger is very, very creepy. The best way I can describe her movements is like, for example, when your mother is angry at you and she doesn't even have to run to catch you, she just continually just walks towards you in the most horrific and unpredictable way. That's how her walk is in this film. That's how she moves, and it's so disturbing and out of the norm that when she first appears on screen as that doppelganger, it just leaves you breathless, and you just find yourself going, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. This is perfect." She is the perfect doppelganger. Duke Winston's performance, he's more of the comic relief of the film, and he brings about some much needed levity. But what Jordan Peele actually does with this horror film how he's able to intricately and seamlessly uh, incorporate the concepts of horror and comedy, but it's not done in such a fashion to where it feels out of place. It's very uniquely done, and it's perfect too. How he incorporated it is just masterful. And it's not so much of a. There's only one moment where it was a kind of a laugh out loud moment, but at the same time, the humor that's in place of it, it's more of a kind of a nervous humor, a nervous laughter, where you're just not exactly sure what's going to happen. It's a much needed relief, but at the same time, you know something else is going to happen that's really going to completely take away from the moment and bring you back to the intensity of the suspense. The kids who played the actors who played their kids did an amazing job as well. The young boy, I do not know his name, but the role that he played with the masked kid with the burnt face and purring like a cat. I mean, when you think about it, kittens purring is adorable. A little creepy kid in a mask purring at the same time is just horrific, unsettling, disturbing. That's the best way I could put it. I was just immensely impressed with how everybody brought their A game to this film, and it's just one of those type of stories where you are engaged cinematically, both emotionally and physically within the story, because you want to see this family come out of it okay. But you know, at the end of the story, again, I'm not going to get into these spoilers. I don't want to get too detailed about it. I want everybody to go in there with their own open mind and their own opinion and be prepared to actually be entertained. I know there was one reviewer in particular who stated that he wants to be, at least before he watched it, he said he wanted to be able to just sit down and watch the film and turn his brain off and be entertained and not have to think about anything political. Well, again, there is that little bit of political message, but again, it's not so heavy-handed to where you are taken out of the film, for me at least. But it's just one of those raw, intense horror films that Jordan Peele has created, to where you just know whatever Jordan Peele is going on, whatever he has going on in his mind, is so nightmarish and out of the norm that I guess he feels like we should have to experience the same feeling. So, hey, that's a horror genius for you. How he's able to craft that story and make it relatable and have the audience. The one audience that I watched it with, I mean, you could just tell they were just so engaged with what's going on, and they reacted appropriately to the proper scenes, actually. And that's what I love about certain horror films, whereas that the audience is so jazzed up and it's not reacting to the point to where it's disturbing everybody else. It's reacting because everybody else is most likely thinking the same exact thing, which is a beautiful moment. And which to me is what I love about watching films like this with a big audience, is the fact that we're all reacting to the same thing and we're all united in that moment. The music of the film, top notch as well. You could tell Jordan Peele was inspired by The Omen, the original Omen, because The Omen has one of the most haunting film scores of all time, if I'm not mistaken, and it won an Academy Award for Best Soundtrack too. Great soundtrack, highly recommended. Go buy it or listen to it, whatever. But you can tell he was inspired by The Omen, which is a classic film, and the music perfectly coincides with what's transpiring on the screen, and it fits within the confines of the story, and it just really brings out that suspense in such a fashion to where you don't necessarily feel out of place with what's happening. It's just how he incorporated the music and the editing and the pacing of the scenes just made it that much more organic, and I cannot just stress how amazing it was. Brilliant and beautiful cinematography as well, just amazing acting, a brilliant written story, a relevant story too, when you really think about it. And he was also inspired for this film with the episode of The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. This episode was called Mirror Image, and as you can see, I'm holding the complete series of The Twilight Zone. I have not seen the episode yet. I do intend to do that. But there have been a lot of Twilight Zone episodes that I have seen, and they are complete, and they're still creepy to this very day. And you can tell that he was inspired by the Twilight Zone, as it flows exactly like a Twilight Zone episode, which is not a bad thing at all. It's wonderful. The ending is very messed up too, and again, I'm not going to get into any type of spoilers. I want everybody to go in there and see it for themselves. It's just one of the greatest horror films of 2019. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. It's, as someone who loves film, and just not just any film. I love horror, action, comedy, drama, suspense, romance. When you go see this film, just know that you are going to be in for the ride of your life. It's going to take you on a whirlwind of emotions, and there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of terror, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of unpredictability. It's going to leave such a lasting impression on you that it's going to be swimming in your head for a while. And that's why it took me a while to do this review, because I had to process everything. I will be watching it again, just so, because I know there are certain things that I missed. But when I watch it again, I'm sure I'm able to pick up little things or possibly big things that I might have missed. Either way, I enjoyed it. I loved it. It's a 5 out of 5 experience. 2 thumbs up from me. My next review is actually going to be Shazam. Maybe Pet Sematary. Not exactly sure how I feel about that remake in particular. That's more or less up in the air for me personally. But after watching this, I'm not exactly sure if I'm ready for any other horror film. This is just, it did everything that it absolutely needed to do for me to be captivated by this film. And I will be purchasing it on DVD when it's released. I will watch it again in theaters. I enjoyed it 100%. It's just a wonderful film. And for Jordan Peele, if Jordan Peele could remain on this track that he's on right now, as far as creating this horror success, maybe, who knows, 10, 20 years from now, God willing, he will be a legend in the horror circle. I cannot wait to see what he does with Candyman as well, the remake. He's on such a roll right now. I can't really see him doing anything wrong right now. He has such a unique and golden touch with this genre that, man, he's just so creative and talented and genius with it. I don't really want to see anyone else do a horror film now. He has it down to a science. Once again, 5 out of 5. Go see it. You won't be disappointed. I promise you won't be disappointed. Whether you see it this weekend, during the week, next week, either way, you are going to be in for such a unique and organic ride. And I hope that you all go see it. I really hope so, because it's something that's a must-see for anyone who is interested in the horror genre and wants to see how this story plays out. I hope everybody has a great night. Hope you enjoy the review. I will be posting this later on, most likely tonight, this morning rather, excuse me, or I'll post it later on in the afternoon as well. Either way, take care, and I will be seeing you guys again for Shazam and most definitely Avengers Endgame. Take care, everybody. Peace out.